flight mode. But it could be really beneficial to have an informal meeting just so you can have a chat with them and really discuss the feelings you've been having in work so they understand, because ultimately, Jamie, if they don't understand how you're feeling, they won't be able to best support you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I attend that with you, we can kind of plan out the main points you want to say. There's just something to consider, but that's what I'm thinking perhaps at the moment when we come to your action plan at the end is an option. So you say they keep contacting you. Does that put you off? Would you say that acts as a barrier for you going back to work?
I would say it acts as a barrier.
Yeah. And does it consequently sort of put you back? Do you feel like you don't progress then? Are there days where you feel like perhaps you...
Well, it has sort of had an impact on everything else really, because I feel worse when I go out of the house.
Yeah.
When I'm home, I do think about it, but I think it is all about being in the nursery with the children, so it plays on my mind quite a lot. I do like having people around, but so that if I faint, somebody will be there to help me. But I worry about my colleagues are thinking what they're thinking, and the headmistress will say, if I tell them that I can't face being left in a room with the children, maybe I shouldn't be at work, but I need the money.
Are your colleagues supportive when you think of your support network, both in and out work? Who springs to mind?
Well, nobody really, because even the situation is even causing problems with my husband, with Danny. We keep arguing that, because what he says is, well, you managed to go to the shops, so I should be cured now.
But it's a different association in the shop, isn't it, than perhaps what you're facing in the nursery.
Yeah.
We know quite often fears are brought on by triggers, and it might be that there are none of those triggers you're exposed to in a shop that you are in a nursery.
Yeah, I think actually, can I tell you about the triggers, or do you not need to know that? Okay, because the triggers for me for work is that I keep feeling sick in the nursery room and thinking I'm going to faint. But past triggers, there was nothing like that. But I always have felt like I could not talk to the headmistress if I had any problems.
I think in terms of when you're talking about what's happening physiologically and you feeling sick when you go into the nursery, of course that's your place of work, so that's why it's so useful to have our employment advisor within an IAPT service, because that is your place of work. But when you're talking about your physiological symptoms and those triggers, those associations that your brain is making, they're what you can discuss more in detail with Gemma. And then when Gemma has sort of a written up plan of how to progress you forward, that's where we liaise together, because obviously it's relevant to work. So
it is, but there's so much risk, and the risk, I don't want to wake up. That's come back to me, so I'm now sort of thinking I don't want to wake up in the morning, and I have discussed this with Gemma, and I don't think I would kill myself because I love my kids too much, but I do feel I don't want to wake up in the mornings.
When you say about risk, would you say you have any current plans or intentions to harm yourself?
No, I haven't got that far. I just feel like I don't want to wake up.
And Gemma's aware that you feel like that sometimes, yeah?
Yeah, I have spoken to Gemma, and she said that I'm still a low risk.
Okay. Well, I do have to tell you, Jamie, obviously I do have a duty of care to flag that up, so I will have to put in your notes that you've mentioned that today.
Okay.
And as you've said, you haven't got any current plans or intent to harm yourself. I don't have to make a call to duty. However, I do have to encourage you, if you ever feel like that again, to contact your GP or the Samaritans.
Okay.
Suicidal thoughts and feelings is very common. It's a common factor of depression, but it's if you ever get that feel that that urge that you're going to act on that, that's when we need to intervene, all right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so going back to employment, what factors do you think when you think of when you're in work? What makes it better? What makes it worse? If I was to say, right, Jamie, you're going back to work tomorrow, what would you want in there? What factors do you think would help you do that? Obviously, you've mentioned that you get on with your colleagues, but you're not necessarily close.
Yeah. Well, I think I would like to go back to school maybe, and eventually train to become a teaching assistant.
Okay, so you'd actually consider going back to study?
Yeah, I think I would I'd like to consider that.
And do you think that going into further training, would that be something you're ready for now?
Well, I need to be around for the kids' holidays, so at the moment I can do that because I work in a school. And I can't afford to reduce my hours permanently, but right now I can't face going back full time. I guess I could do the study when the kids have gone to bed.
Yeah, and would that be studying the age group that you're working in now, or would you want to do training to go on to work with a different age group?
No, I think yes, I'd like to go. Well, it'd be school age children.
Okay.
I wouldn't have so many fears around that. I'm not with toddlers or babies that I could hurt.
And that's really positive that you've identified that. So as well as a job search, we could perhaps look at what training is out there, and we also know that training, anything that increases your knowledge increases your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you can recognise, I don't think I would feel as scared around school age children is a real positive, because it means that your employment in education doesn't have to end here just because you've recognised that maybe working in a nursery isn't the right thing for you at the minute.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So we'll have a look at training when we do a job search as well. I just mentioned to you if I said you were going back to work tomorrow, obviously that isn't going to happen because you've got another month off. How soon do you feel you could go back to work?
Well, I still worry about the fainting and hurting one of the children. So I guess it's too much for me to think about right now. So returning to work might be, and definitely returning to work full time. I definitely couldn't do that.
So we want to look at phased return, training, and job searching, don't we? If I said perhaps in 6 months, how would that sit with you?
I think 6 months.
Is that too long?
No, I think that would give me time to finish my therapy.
Yeah, because we've already established you're prepared to undertake training. Would you do training to enhance your knowledge in your current role? Some further training? Is there any training needs there you've thought of? No? So I'm going to ask you a bit of a tricky question now.
Mm-hmm.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how important would you say work is to you?
I would say it's really important, because
1's not at all and 10 is extremely. So try and give me a figure in between 1
Can
and
you say
10.
that question again?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is work to you? So 1 is not at all and 10 is extremely. 8. That's positive. That's what I like to see, is that work, and we know work is so good for our well-being anyway. Being employed has brilliant positive effects for us mentally and physically.
And I'm a fully trained nursery nurse, so
Fully trained, so you wouldn't need any further training.
not for that role.
No.
It would be for the teaching role.
Have you experienced any sort of, because I know you've mentioned you want to go on to teaching, I'm just trying to establish what exactly is causing this fear of fainting in work. Have you had a similar issue in the past in any of your previous employment?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good, because if we can select it to just one environment, that should be a little bit easier for us to work on alongside Gemma, shouldn't it? So when I say to you, you're going back to work tomorrow, even though you're not, we know you've got a month off, what would be your biggest concern other than fainting and falling on somebody?
Okay, well, obviously there is that. I'm scared that I might hurt a child. I can't face full-time work, and I'm too frightened to speak to the headmaster or contact occupational health. People say I have rights, but I don't know what these are and how to look after myself this way. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I'm not someone who likes to ask for things, But I do love the school and I don't want to leave it. So to stay there I could stay there, but I would need some help to do that.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that you're in the right place to try and stay there. And what I want to try and do, and what we're going to put in your action plan, is to empower you, Janie, so you feel more confident asking for support, because you are definitely within your rights to ask for support from an employer. Every employer has a duty of care to look after your mental health needs and ensure that you have the facilities to perform as best you can.
Okay.
So, like it's mentioned earlier, perhaps if we had that informal meeting, that would be something to suggest there as well. It sounds like the school means a lot to you. Is there any other sort of things that motivate you to stay in that specific employment?
Well, it's an area that I know. It's an area that I'm qualified to do. And I like it. I like the school.
And you've mentioned to me that you're having a few sort of frayed conversations with your other half because of the financial pressures. Would you say at the moment that is preventing you from looking for work? Or changing jobs, or being confident and happy?
I'm just not confident about changing a job right now.